All right. Well, here I am in Mr. Angela Lee's office here on Positive the Series. You know, I'm your host, Jerome. And Angela, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your experience with HIV and how you've turned your test into a testimony.
Yeah, again, I'm Angela Lee. They call me Minister Angela Lee. And I am now a virtual member of Jamal Bryant's church, New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, as a matter of fact.
An old high school chum.
Yeah, I love him. I've been following him at least 18 years. And one of the reasons why I love him so much is because he has a love for people like myself, like ourselves, you know. Again, I was diagnosed at the age of 20. And
that was in the 80s?
April 29th, 1984.
Not to age you, but...
No, that was my birthday. I had came in to the hospital. I was really sick. And I had been ill from doing all night drinking and running the street because I had been abused as a child. And so I was running and looking for love, you know, anywhere I can get it, you know, because it's something when you've been abused by your parents that you go to look for other surrogate parents, for lack of words, you know.
You look for love in all the wrong places.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was drinking and everything, and one day I woke up and I was feeling really sick. And so I went to this hospital down at the bottom of Cherry Hill, and that's when they asked me, they started doing the testing. And they said, well, are you interested in getting tested? And I was like, sure. I said, can you hurry up and give me something for pain management so I can go?
Right.
And so
you was looking for the quick fix.
Hurried up and gave me the blood draw, and at that time you had to come back in 2 weeks. So I came back in 2 weeks to get my results because they promised to give me some money or something, you know, and I needed that to get my next fix. So when I get there, the man takes me into a utility closet, and it has a gurney on one side, and it has hospital supplies on another, and there was this one lonely chair sitting in the middle of the floor.
So you already knew.
I'll never forget it. So when I sit there, the doctor says, oh, by the way, you've been diagnosed with HIV and you have 1 year to live.
Wow.
And he said, and by the way, I need to go.
And mind you, that was 1984.
Yeah. And then he said, and by the way, I need to leave because I got other patients to attend to. So he didn't have any information, education. He didn't have any empathy or anything like that to give, none. He just left me there to fend with my emotions. And you know, at that time, when you hear that, all I heard was, you've been diagnosed HIV and you got 1 year.
Right. You're
and
about to die.
I'm about to die at 20 years old.
Right.
And at that
you just
time,
started living.
And at that time, people were diagnosed and they didn't live over a year, you know.
Right.
So that spiraled me into using hard drugs, where I was using $2,000 worth of drugs a day. You know, I became a prostitute, sleeping with 30 men a day.
Okay, you answered my questions. I was going to ask, how did you afford that?
Well, that was one of the reasons, you know, but I was also drug dealing and, you know, and selling cars and anything that I could sell. You know, that wasn't nailed down, you know, but, and I'm not proud of it because I done been to jail like 6 different times, you know what I mean, and homelessness, you know, vacant houses, you know, that type of thing. But I met the Lord in prison. He came down he came to the prison at MCIW, and I got saved in prison. I got baptized and saved in prison.
Tell me about that experience.
You know, when I met the Lord in prison, I was in this. The cells are like 6 feet by 6 feet. It's not a whole lot of space, and I shared the cell with another woman. So in there, I'm praying. I'm like, and I knew I didn't have a lot of time. I was looking at 20 years, and they suspended everything but 13 months. Wow. So I did 6.5 down there at MCIW, and I knew if I had gotten let out of that prison before God had begun to heal me and deliver me from drug addiction and everything, I was going to die out there. Because I had invented this drug-using technique called body crashing. And that's where you take one syringe with 60 cc's of heroin and put that in one arm. And then I had another syringe with 60 cc's of cocaine. And I put that in my other arm. And then I took a crack pipe and I heated up and I dropped a whole bag of crack in that. And I did all of this at the count of 3. So I was like one of these two-fisted gunslingers. I was trying to die. So I OD'd twice. And I meant to bring my book because I do have I am a published
Yes,
author.
you are a published author, yes.
Yeah, I have 3 books that I've written talking about where I came from. You know, my first book is called And Then Came God, Your Secret Was Safe With Me.
And where can folks at home get your book?
You can get it on Amazon.
Amazon?
Yeah.
And it's called And Then Came God?
The first one is called And Then Came God, Your Secret Was Safe With Me. And the second one is called This Was Me. You know, with a question mark, you know. Okay. And my third one is called This Was Me Too. You know, it's like I left some stuff out, you know. I did that too.
I love to play on words.
So, you know, it talks
and
about
punctuation.
Yeah, I had asked the question, was this me too? I couldn't believe it. You know, but it's been 35 years. I've been diagnosed 35 years
and
now, and I give God
phenomenal.
Thank you.
No one, you are not wearing it.
I'm not trying to.
You do not wear your pain. You do
Let
not
me tell
wear
you,
your test at all.
Let me tell you,
it's a blessing.
God is good to me, and I know prayer is the key. Prayer will reach places in our body concerning these diagnoses that medication could never get to.
Right.
And so I pray every day. I pray over my medication. I actually just started taking the medicine 20 years ago because they didn't have any medication at the time when I was diagnosed. And so for the first 16 years of my diagnosis, I didn't have any medicine. I didn't have any information. I went to different hospitals and clinics, and they really couldn't tell me a lot. Right. And so I just waited. And then they told me I wasn't sick enough.
And can you speak a little bit about being a woman, an African-American woman with HIV back in the 80s? Because you were a bit of a unicorn at that time.
Yeah, it's like back then, you know, the word was the bug. And people were afraid to be in the very airspace where they believed that if you all breathe the same air, that you could become infected by breathing the same air. Like me and you sitting this close, people wouldn't sit close. I mean, I've had family members that won't even touch me because they were afraid. And it was that fear, you know, because we didn't have a lot of information. Right. When we lack information, fear steps in. Absolutely. You understand? So at this point, I got people not wanting to hug me, not wanting to touch me. Yes. You know what I mean? And that I began to believe that I was a germ myself to the point where I had even given my children, my 2 older children, to my brother to care for because since I thought I was going to die, I thought they were going to be better off without me. Wow. But I was wrong. I realized that the more I had my children, the more of a strength that they became for me. And then I heard God say, well, you know, knowledge is power. The more knowledge I gained about this thing, the more empowered I became. And so I found out, I was like, wait a minute. It's the healthy people that's more of a threat to me than I am to them.
Yes, yes.
You know, and as long as I'm not out here sleeping and creeping and stepping and pepping, I'm okay.
You're okay.
You know, I'm going to be okay. Cool. So,
that is
and I mean, I've been married a couple times, and you know, the men that married me, they loved me because I was completely transparent. Absolutely. I mean, I believe that I gave them the chance to decide to be in a relationship with me, unlike the chance I never got. Yes. So I let them know, look, I've been diagnosed. I'm a 6-time ex-offender. Yes. I've been homeless. I've been on drugs. I'm celebrating 26 years clean now. You know what I mean? I have my own home. I'm working. And so what you trying to do? You still want to go? You know, you want to go? Let's do this, you know.
So would it be fair to say that in addition to the Lord, you found some redemption in your diagnosis?
Yeah, I believe that we can take this thing that was meant to be a negative and turn it into a positive. What was meant to destroy me can actually empower and uplift other people. Yes. So what I do, as you know, as a certified HIV testing counselor, I do health education risk reduction. Yes. I teach condom application education. You know, I talk about thought processes and behavior management because there's a certain thought that creates the behavior. So we have young people who are out here having sex for obligatory reasons. Absolutely. So we call it obligatory sex because grandma's trying to take care of this teenager on a fixed income and they don't have enough money to keep the lights on, so that young person will go out here and have all kinds of sex so they can get the money to help grandma. And so we have young people who are diagnosed, you know what I mean, HIV because, and you know, our spiritual world is so quick to be judgmental.
Yes.
When I first came to a church, God called. Yeah. And I mean, it makes us fearful and afraid, and it also makes us second guess the position that we're in because HIV is a position it sets you in a position to look at what are you doing to become diagnosed.
Right.
But I remember when I first got diagnosed, and I remember going into church because I said, well, I can get my drug behavior off me if I go in there and give it to God. And I went in this church and I told them my testimony, and they told me they had to take a vote. They said, oh, we got to take a vote to see if we'll accept women like you in our congregation.
Really?
Yeah, they said we have to see. So it began to be about my marital status. I had illegitimate children, and of course my health status. When I said I was ex-hooker, the women was grabbing their husbands like, come on, Henry. They thought I wanted Henry.
Maurice, you got to go. We got to go.
So they reluctantly voted me in, and I voted my way out. I said, because no, God told me come as I am.
Absolutely.
And so I came wounded and sad and diagnosed and lost.
Not broken.
Looking for help.
Yes.
And so now when I meet people, I try to give them that love and that support and help like it was given to me.
Absolutely.
That's why I love Jerome Brown so much, because he doesn't pull no punches about showing love for people like us. You know what I mean? He really loves on us.
And he never touched you.
Never. He never. I mean, every time I saw him, and I've hugged him. He hugged me like I'm somebody, that's never been diagnosed. Mm-hmm. And see, my emotions is like antennas and feelers. I try to see how people are going to treat me. Yes. Will let me know whether I'm going to refer other people to you. You follow me?
Absolutely.
If you mistreat me because of my diagnosis, then I know what you're going to do to the people I sent. So I'm not sending nobody to you, and you're supposed to provide a service. If you're going to mistreat them, I'm not going to do that. You know.
And I think it's also testament to the fact that here you are doing the type of work and advocacy in preventive care, maintenance, understanding behavior and thought processes, because you yourself, your experience was quite negative when it came to your diagnosis.
Absolutely.
So you're doing everything in your power to change that reality for the people who are coming up.
Yes, my hope is to help agencies begin to love on the people that we serve.
Absolutely.
Because we're not here to be served, we're here to serve. Yes. And so if that means I can give you a hug and make you feel better about yourself, if I can give you a kind word or a gesture, if I can give you some research and some information that can help empower you. You know what I mean? I went from being a homelessness and high school dropout to getting my GED, and now I have 3 degrees, my associate's, master's, and my associate's, bachelor's, and master's.
Look at God.
And and I'm working on my state license.
Won't he do it?
Agencies like the Baltimore City Health Department that hired me under their contract. I'm working here as a psychiatric rehabilitation program administrator. That's a lot of words. I know how to do 8 different software.
Yes.
My children, they are the brains. They are the brains. They taught me everything. And, because, none of our skills are lost with the diagnosis.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think that people tend to think that. People tend to think if you diagnose HIV, you can't be a minister.
Right.
You can't preach God's word. You can't operate the systems. You can't do anything in government. But I'm here, you're here,
absolutely,
to give a new face to the government, to let them know that HIV will not interfere with the calling that God has on our life. If it's meant for us to work in the government, we're going to do it. And HIV would just have to go with us. It just has to go.
Yeah, he's the dark passenger. But
I like that.
But he comes with he comes with the package.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. Now I want to, before we wrap, because I know you're busy.
Yeah.
I hear people outside clamoring for you. I just want you to share with the viewers at home any advice that you would give to a young man or woman who was newly diagnosed. What would you tell them to do?
To the newly diagnosed, we understand better than you think that this thing can be beat. Number one, HIV can be beat if we practice ultimate abstinence. If you're not doing anything, you can't get anything. And those of you all that have gotten diagnosed, there are all types of categories of medication out and available now that you can take, information, medication, information, and the monies to pay for. And so I'm a witness to that fact. And they have some of the least amount of side effects. You can marry, you can have babies, you can get engaged.
Who are not HIV infected.
That's right. And you can own businesses. I have a couple businesses that I'm operating, helping those with domestic violence. So there's nothing that will stop you but you. Anything you put your mind to, you can do it.
Absolutely. And just before we wrap, I just want to ask you for that hug that you were talking about people need. I want one. I don't need it. I want it. Thank you so much, Angela. It is such a pleasure to finally get the chance to spend some time in your presence.
Thank you so much.
You are a blessing to me.
You are blessing the world.
You can be a blessing to somebody out there.
And you keep doing what you're doing. I'm praying with you. Whatever you need,
God
my help, I'm here.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Jerome.
And
thank
remember,
you, everybody.
Thank you all for joining in. And don't forget, never be sorry, but be fierce. God bless. Until next time.